Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jurassic World Cinematics. Before we start with today's episode, I would like to ask you to please take a look at my gaming review channel, Kanoa Reviews. You can find the link to that channel in the description down below. I do gaming reviews of both old and new games, and will soon also do a review on the game Jurassic Park Trespasser. If you like the content on there, please consider subscribing to the Kanoa Reviews channel, as it helps me out a lot. Thanks, and please enjoy the rest of this episode. With the newest iteration of Jurassic Park having its first inhabitant in the form of the Dimetrodon, it was important to quickly greet new attractions to the area. Opposite of the Dimetrodon pen, a new zone was created that was much larger. Multiple dinosaur species would live here, and scientists were debating on what kinds they would introduce here. It was still important not to showcase the biggest attraction, but instead work on building up the anticipation. For starters, 4 Iguanodon were created. These friendly giants were calm of nature and would easily share their living space with other species of dinosaur. Their defense mechanism, with their thumb spikes, wasn't all that effective, so they counted on being amongst a herd to fend off threats smaller than they were. If push came to shove, they would stand on their hind legs and make themselves as big as possible to intimidate that whichever threatened the dinosaur. During the next evening and night, the Iguanodon were each sedated and brought over to their new living space. All 4 had a distinct different color pattern, making them beautifully coherent, yet very unique and easy to distinguish. The utmost care was used during the transportation during the night, but everything went flawless. Even the Dimetrodon weren't that shaken up by all the commotion happening way above their heads. Despite the Iguanodon having a calm personality, you could definitely see they were a bit surprised about what happened. They quickly explored the fence perimeters, but felt at ease when the 4 were all united and moved as one herd across the field. The Iguanodon feeding area was put right near the fence so that the visitors were guaranteed a good view. The dinosaurs themselves were very large, so they would often see them, but this guaranteed a meeting up close. With the addition of new creatures, the staff through the park grew as well, and was still allowed to have a special guest or producer here or there. But more dinosaurs would need to be added before the proper public opening. Next up, an additional species needed to be added to the Iguanodon pen. And the scientists voted for the Compsognathus, Compsys for short. These little critters were carnivores, but the Iguanodon were too big to be threatened by these. For a long while, it was actually thought that the Compsys would also not be a threat to humans due to their size, so the staff rangers, including Ranger Steve, would just trot freely amongst these little critters. Steve was wrong. The migration with the Compsys was a bit more complex than your average dinosaur due to their tiny size. First, the staff had a difficult time to sedate the rascals since they were such small targets. And the transportation via helicopter seemed a bit overkill as maybe they could have just been transported in a Jeep or an SUV, or even a box for that matter. A carnivore feeder was placed close to the fence as well. There was some worry amongst the scientists, who voted against the Compys, that they were so small that the audience would not see them through the thick grass. And they indeed easily got lost in it, meaning that they could compensate with this by adding more Compys to increase the chance of seeing them. The Iguanodon definitely did not seem to mind. They just tended to their own business, eating some more of those juicy leaves while the squeaky noises of the Compys could be heard over the grass. And thus a second wave of Compys were bred in order to make the pack a bit larger. More staff was hired, and the park itself actually became quite bustling, especially the boulevard. It looked beautiful there on the open spot on the island. And on the next day, the next set of Compys were flown over to make the pen complete. By now, all of the animals had gotten used to the sound of choppers flying over, so no one was panicked. As expected, the Iguanodon could very easily live amongst the Compys due to their size. Not even once did a Compy try to attack an Iguanodon. On the other hand, the only thing that the Iguanodon had to be careful of was not to trample the little creatures under their big feet. By having now more than 10 Compys, chances of spotting one were indeed higher, but still was difficult due to their color and size against the grass. Luck would have it, though, that multiple would bunch up, which increased the likeliness of spotting them. For the Compys, their new home was great, with lots of room to play around with, and a few forest parts that they could hide if they felt threatened by rain or thunder. But the Compys were too small to adhere only 2 species to this large pen. So the scientists agreed that a third species could still be added here. And they eventually ended up agreeing on adding an Oviraptor, the notorious egg thief. The Oviraptor was an omnivore, meaning that its diet did not consist solely of the insides of eggs like some believed. It actually also ate hard fruits and even shellfish. Anything it could get its claws upon, and that its sharp beak would be able to open. Two were bred to balance out the small herd of Iguanodon, and they were brought over to the pen. Now there were 3 different sizes of creatures in this pen, making it very balanced and plenty to see. Though it wasn't safe for visitors to freely interact with the current dinosaurs in the park, they weren't considered the dangerous kind either. So now, it was time to finally introduce the audience to the first real scary looking dinosaurs.